welcome to the Short Horror Beer Cast Season 2, Episode 1. I'm Paul.
And I'm Alec.
Today, we are covering the music of Erich Zann by good old H.P. Lovecraft. I've been waiting a very long time to cover a Lovecraft story. I can't wait.
Whoa. Hold on one second. Listen.
Oh. Yeah, what is that?
You hear that?
Yeah.
It's nice, right?
No, I like it. I like it a lot, actually.
Yeah, that's Jason Denny.
Jason Denny.
Yeah.
Horror author? Or
No.
No.
Not that I know of. I think he digs horror a lot, though.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, he's a good friend, and he's a hell of a guitar player.
It sounds it.
Yeah, it's putting it lightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really kind to let us use some of his work from his album Just Enough.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if anybody hearing this wants to check it out, he's got stuff over at jasondenny.com, and we're going to leave a link down in the bio so you can check it out.
All right, I'm writing it down right now, jasondenny.com.
Right.
And that's Dennie, right?
That's correct.
You would think I was prepared for this or something.
I don't know how you know these things. It's shocking. Yeah, Jason's a sweet, sweet guy. Awesome. I love him, and we're very grateful that you're contributing to the show. So thanks, man.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jason.
All right. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go on with what you're saying.
Okay. As usually what we do on this here show, it's called Beercast for a reason. We have chosen beers to go with the music of Erich Zann, and I'm very, very excited to hear what you got in that glass of yours.
Well, this was a tough one.
Yes.
I was having a hard time for a long time, and then randomly, just out of the ether, my brother texted me with this picture and said, "You need this for your podcast." And I read it. I was like, holy shit. Yes, I do. So I went out and started looking for it, and I couldn't find it anywhere, but I finally found it today.
Okay.
It's Griffin Claw Brewing Company out of Birmingham, Michigan.
Okay, I like Griffin Claw. That's cool.
Yep, and it's called Sin, Repent, Repeat.
Good.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And the clincher is, it's a punchki stout.
Okay.
Which is crazy. Do you know what a punchki is?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. What it is, it's like a donut. It's a
Okay.
cream-filled pastry.
Okay.
But it's covered in powdered sugar. It's way bigger than a donut. And it's way better.
Okay. Cool.
And it's a Polish thing.
Yeah. Okay.
It's spelled Paczki.
Okay.
And it's pronounced punchki.
Interesting.
Right.
I've never heard of this. How did this not get on my radar once this whole time in my life?
Traditionally, punchkis were made before Lent in the Catholic religion.
Okay.
In preparation for Easter.
Sure.
You got to use up all your sweets and butters before the holiday. So
of course, yeah.
They made these things that were just insanely sugary and buttery and horrible for you, but amazing to eat.
I like it.
Flavors include this jam and mush that goes in the middle is raspberry, cherry, lemon, custard, prune, apple, blueberry, strawberry, or rose petal. Not all together, but you can get one of each.
Nice.
Because that would be gnarly all together.
Right.
It's huge in Michigan. I don't know how far out of the Midwest it stretches out of Michigan, Upper and Lower Peninsula, but
okay.
I know in Detroit and Hamtramck, which is a very established Polish community here, used to be.
Okay.
You know, it's all manner of people now, but it was a big Polish area, and that's where you got all your punchkis back in the day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's this crazy beer that's a punchki stout. I was like, what? So I'm going to have my first slag of it ever right now.
Okay. Let's see.
And it comes in big pint cans.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. Hold on.
Yeah. Let's hear it.
Oh, my God. That is like the most decadent thing I've ever drank as far as a beer.
Oh, nice. Does it taste like you're sinning and repeating?
Yeah, it tastes like a punchki. It's crazy.
That's cool.
But it's a stout.
Yeah.
So it's this weird boozy punchki. It's crazy.
Boozy punchki. I like it.
But it's pretty outstanding marketing, you know, for people in Michigan. These are hard to find. I found like the last guy to have it in his store.
Oh, nice.
Shout out to Adrian at Spring Valley Party Store in Highland.
Nice.
Yeah, so thanks for that. That was cool.
That's awesome.
Again, you can't have a lot of these.
No, I don't think.
Could. Oh, no. And it's 8.0 ABV.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool.
But it's something. It's not fucking around.
No.
I mean, I use the word decadent, which is hilarious, but it is. It's like I'm eating a donut for the show.
Yeah, right. You're drinking a donut.
Anyway, so that's where I'm at.
Well, I love it. That's amazing.
Sin, repent, repeat.
Sin, repent, repeat. Okay, cool. That works.
What about you? What do you got?
Okay, so like you, had a very hard time, and the wife and I were out in Sag Harbor, which is on the eastern end of Long Island. Okay, it was a quick geography lesson. Long Island is shaped kind of like a whale, and where the whale's tail would be are two forks. And so Sag Harbor is on the South Fork. And it's surrounded by the Hamptons. You're, of course, familiar with the Hamptons.
Absolutely.
Now, Sag Harbor is a quaint little whaling town, really old school whaling town. It dates back to the 1700s, at least the 1800s. I think the Pequod in Moby Dick docks at Sag Harbor at one point, I think, or they talk about it. I know that they mention it. Really beautiful little colonial era village in the heart of this area, and recently it started to be taken over. My voice is a little thick right now. It's because I'm trying to fight off a very minor cold, but it's just enough to get me surly. And so I'm going to rant for a second. Because Sag Harbor used to be a nice little cloistered village, and it started to be invaded by these Hamptons scumbags. I'm going to call them scumbags unashamedly.
Can you define scumbag?
Yeah, they are very, very, very rich people. And they wear white linen, I think, all year long, but I've only seen them polluting the area in the summer. So they wear this like white linen. They all look like cult members.
They look like they're without sin.
Yeah, right, exactly. And they have leathery skin. There's something very unappealing about them at first glance. I'm gonna make so many enemies right now. And because the thing is, they started invading my beautiful Sag Harbor. We used to go there all the time, and it was a nice little getaway spot, and you just felt so good. You feel like you're away from everything. It's so cool, this little village. And now like Food Network people hang out there and brought all their idiot friends out there. Billy Joel has been known to speed his way through that town, and ignore everybody as he walks down the street. Yeah, and so this is how these people are, and it bugs me. So when I think of Sag Harbor, I think, oh, this beautiful place got spoiled.
Yeah, the word elitist these days gets thrown around quite a bit, but they really are.
Yeah, well, I like to consider myself an elitist.
Well, how so?
Well, I'm sitting here drinking good beer, and I'm like, I love all this good literature and stuff like that.
I don't think that makes you an elitist because you're sharing it with me.
Okay.
Right? And everyone listening. I mean, it's not like you're sitting on some balcony staring down at the peasants.
Right. You peasants can't possibly understand this good beer that I'm drinking. You stick to your little swill.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not how I am.
Right. So I'm on eggshells. What is it?
Okay, so by the way, I told you about the North Fork and the South Fork. Well, on the North Fork, there's a spot called Riverhead. And in Riverhead is a brewery called Twin Fork Brewery. That was founded by twins. So it's a nice little play, and the word play goes on because their father was a classically trained pianist who was taught by a guy who was a student of Franz Liszt.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I can't pronounce their name. I think it's Dan and Pete Chekigian. I don't know how to pronounce that. I think it's pronounced Punchki. So,
that sounds right.
Yeah. Anyway, so all their beers have a music theme to them. And the one I chose, so I was in this little store in Sag Harbor. I turn around and there's a whole display of Twin Fork beers. Every single one of them has a musical themed name or title, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
The one I chose is called Crescendo. And it's a
no way.
Yeah, it's East Coast style IPA, and it's very nice. I like it a lot, actually.
Wow.
Really, really great example of that style. And so I was so happy because I couldn't think of what I was going to use for this story. And I turn around and there it is, Crescendo, staring me right in the face. And I said, oh, this is good.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, that's fate.
So it was worth elbowing a few Hamptonites in the face to get this thing.
Yeah, move.
Yeah.
It's mine.
Right, exactly.
Well, nice one, dude. That's awesome.
Thank you. And you as well. And I'll bid you cheers.
Cheers.
And cheers to everybody listening, too.
Yes.
I'm going to take a sip. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's good.
Nice.
Okay, so now that we have our beers, we're going to talk a little bit about H.P. Lovecraft. I'm going to try to keep this short, because there's a lot to talk about with Lovecraft. So I'm going to give the quick rundown bio here, okay? A little pocket bio. Mm-hmm. He was born Howard Phillips Lovecraft. He was born on October 20th, 1890 in Providence, Rhode Island. I believe he died in Providence, Rhode Island as well. He's buried there. His gravestone says, "I am Providence."
Wow.
So when Lovecraft was just 3 years old, his father was committed to a psychiatric hospital on the grounds that he was behaving very strangely. They later found out that he was suffering from the effects of late-stage syphilis. So Lovecraft's mother, her name was Sarah, but she went by Susie, so I'm going to refer to her by Susie. Susie was, by all accounts, mentally unstable herself. So little Howard didn't have the best upbringing. He's raised by two crazy people. Her husband's decline and eventual death shattered her even further. And Susie Lovecraft and her son had this problematic relationship. Okay, she was really domineering, overprotective, and demeaning to him. She was very controlling. She was verbally abusive. And she would tell him he was too ugly to go outside. You need to hide your face. You're too ugly. Like, she would tell the neighbors that, too. "Oh, why don't we see little Howard?" "Well, he's too ugly. We keep him in." You know? So,
fuck him.
Yeah. So there's some, like, speculation that maybe Susie, being aware of the nature of her husband's illness, may have been thoroughly disgusted by that and may have been taking it out on her child. So anyway, when the old man died, Susie arranged for her and her milquetoast of a son to go and live with the extended family. He had two spinster aunts, and they both smothered him and overprotected him as well. But the one saving grace was that the grandparents lived in that house as well. And so it was with this grandfather, young Howard was taken under the old man's wing, so to speak.
And they were normal, the grandparents?
Fairly normal, yes. And
okay, good.
The grandfather's name you're going to love was Whipple Phillips. Isn't that a great name?
Whipple. I love it.
Yeah.
Real quick, I knew a Sheriff Whipple up north at the island.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Sheriff Whipple.
That's awesome.
It was great. Yeah, he was a great guy. Yeah.
So it was old Whipple who introduced young Lovecraft to classic literature and even told him his own fantastical stories that he apparently conjured up whole cloth, influenced the young Lovecraft, later mused that maybe it was by Gothic novels that he was reading and stuff like that. Telling his kid little weird tales and stuff. It was cool. Being that Howard himself was a child prodigy, he could read and write from the age of 3. He immersed himself into literature, and he soon began writing stories of his own, inspired by his own nightmares and fears. Okay, with that kind of upbringing, you can speculate he probably had a lot of those.
Yeah.
So right now, I'm going to cap that there because we need a lot more time to get into Lovecraft's personality, his eccentricities. There are many, many of them. He was a very strange dude.
Yeah.
He was reclusive. He worshipped the 18th century. He preferred to use 18th century colloquialisms and spellings in his writings. You can see that in a lot of his writings. He considered himself an 18th century gentleman that was stuck in the body of a 20th century man, you know.
Yeah.
He just worshipped that era. There was something about the antiquity of it that he loved. If you've ever been to Providence, Rhode Island, he just loved all that old colonial architecture and stuff, and it is beautiful.
I myself have not yet, but I'd love to.
Yeah, it's a nice little place. And now, real quick, before we get into the story, let's address the elephant in the room here. Mm-hmm. Perhaps informed by his reclusiveness, young HP developed into a kind of a raging bigot. And he was bigoted against basically every type of human that wasn't H.P. Lovecraft, okay?
Now, do you mean that wasn't the same ethnicity as himself?
The same ethnicity, same...
Or just himself?
You know, you want to talk about elitism. He really considered himself above people. You know, he considered most people to be beneath him. And yeah, he was just not a very... Well, let's put it this way.
Likeable.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, he apparently was kind of charming to people. But he held others, you know, with a capital O, in very low regard, okay? And he goes off in his letters, he goes off, he had moved to New York City at one point and found himself in Red Hook.
Well, that must have sent him around the bend.
Yeah, and he's writing letters, and they're just dripping with this brutal hatred of every ethnicity on the planet. It's really not pleasant at all, but some of this crap makes its way into his fiction here and there. Thankfully, not much. It's my opinion that it's usually the worst of his fiction that you tend to see the worst of his racism. I think, you know, when he was really feeling not good, when he just wasn't feeling it, the rage probably came out, you know.
I know you're a fan.
Yeah.
I think you're a lot like me in that way that I don't know how long it took you to be able to have this kind of discipline, but when I discovered that some writers that I really admired had viewpoints that were completely photonegative to mine.
Right.
Initially, I was like, well, fuck him.
Yeah.
Or fuck her, whatever.
Right.
But,
Right.
you can't really do that because it's got nothing to do with you. It's got nothing
Correct.
to do with anything but them.
Correct.
If you liked the writing, as long as they weren't insane.
Right. Correct.
If you can separate the person from the work, which you should do as an admirer or practitioner of this craft,
Yeah.
you need to be able to do that because some people are fucked up.
Yeah.
Completely fucked up assholes.
Sure.
But they're fucking geniuses in the bargain.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's sort of like your 1940s alert.
Yes. Right.
You know what I mean? We don't condone it, but we're not going to censor it either.
Right.
Right? It's kind of like that.
Absolutely. This is a problem that Lovecraft scholars and fans alike have had to contend with forever.
Yeah.
And it's a little too easy to dismiss this as just a man being a product of his time because those views were pretty hardcore even for their time.
Yeah.
Like you said, doesn't mean we don't read them.
Right.
It's just we have to accept the fact that the guy wasn't a saint and that he produced some great fiction. You can hold two thoughts in your head at the same time.
Exactly. Thank you. That was it.
Yeah. And as you were going with that also is to say that, like, as long as he's not producing Mein Kampf, I think it's okay.
Yeah. Right.
There's a story that I absolutely love called The Shadow over Innsmouth.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been seen as something of a metaphor for the way he feels about the race being polluted by interbreeding and stuff like that. But I don't see it. I really don't. You really have to stretch. Just knowing this about Lovecraft, you can point to anything in his fiction and be like, haha, there it is. But I don't know. I don't see it there. And like I said, every one of our favorite writers writes this brutal stuff, and it doesn't mean that they're serial killers or anything else.
Yeah.
There is a very famous or infamous thing about Lovecraft, a meme, if you will, about the name of his cat. I don't know if you've ever heard this.
No.
I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
But he had a cat, and he called it N-Word Man.
No.
Yeah.
God damn it.
And that cat, he wrote this cat into one of his stories, The Rats in the Walls, which is another great story.
I've heard you reference that before.
Okay, yeah. And you read the story, and then you come across that, and you're like, oh... It's like,
fuck. That's a tough one, though.
It's not, and I'm going to sound like I'm defending. I'm not defending. I'm just
No,
saying
I know you're not.
it's
I know
not
you.
that, like, he's not doing it as I'm going to poke at people and purposely aggravate. He just named the cat that, and the cat's running around, and he says, hey, come here, you, and it's like, it's so weird.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, no, it is.
But,
it is.
again, that wouldn't stop me from reading his stuff. It would make me stare at his photograph and go,
Right.
But the writing's a whole different thing. That's a story. It's a fucking story. He's separated from all of it.
And he was paying homage to his beloved cat. So just unfortunate that he couldn't change the name. That's all. But
it is a dick thing to do, though.
Yeah, totally.
Such a dick thing.
Totally.
Oh, it's tough when you love someone like that. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
And here and there, you come across little things like, oh, dude, why do you have to do that? Come on. And, I always looked at it as I kind of feel sorry for him because it was his reclusiveness and being sheltered and everything else just did not give him the experience of being with other people. All you need is one friend of the group that you supposedly despise, and that will crush your logic about hating the entire group. So
exactly.
And he just didn't have that. Very reclusive, very sheltered.
Okay.
So we can have a little bit of sympathy. Poor guy didn't get a chance to...
he just hung with the wrong crowd, meaning himself.
Right. Exactly. Right, exactly. So we're going to talk more about Lovecraft in our next episode because we're doing a twofer.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to cover another story. Suffice it to say for now that H.P. Lovecraft went on to produce some pretty monumental works in horror literature. He influenced everybody we love. His name appears among the influences of every writer that we've ever covered here on this show, with the exception of Lauren Isley. But if you listen to Season 1, Episode 6, we make a pretty good case for that. Maybe Isley was a Lovecraft fan. We don't know, but maybe. You never know.
The Batrachian bit?
Absolutely. And this little cosmic horror thing going on in there. So his tentacles reached everywhere.
That's good.
There you go.
Yep.
We are covering the music of Erich Zann. A great story. A little bit of a departure from what he's known for. He's known for these monsters and stuff like that, and a lot of this cosmic horror, this stuff that is just right beyond what you can perceive, but you feel it, and it just fills you with dread. And you get some of that in the story, but it's very, very subtle. It's very cool the way he does it. And this was an early story. He was written in 1921 when our man was a sprightly old coot of 31. It appeared in the March 1922 edition of National Amateur Magazine. A few of his works, especially the early ones, found their homes in these dinky little amateur rags. Yeah. He seemed to think that that was the only place that would publish his stuff until he found Weird Tales magazine, which published many, many of his tales. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get into it. All right, so the music of Erich Zann. We open with an enticing mystery, a missing street. Our unnamed narrator tells us he's searched high and low on every map he could get his hands on, and nowhere can he find the Rue d'Orsay. Why should he spend so much time trying to find a street, and why can't he find it? It's a neat little device to open up a story with this mystery. Just raises questions. What's going on here? So he partially answers this. He says the reason why he should spend so much time looking for it is because that was a location of the very last time he heard the music of Erich Zann. Mm-hmm. So great device here. You open with a mystery, then while explaining it leads you to another mystery. Okay, so wait, you can't find a street anywhere, and who the hell is Erich Zann, and what's up with his music? We find out our narrator was a student of metaphysics at a university, and the Rue d'Orsay was only a half hour's walk away from the school he attended. It was also a pretty unique road with natural landmarks that no one could forget. So this is all hammering home the point that he's just trying to find this place, and he just can't. He doesn't know why it's not around.
Right.
It seems that everyone but him has either forgotten about the street or has no idea what he's talking about. Next, we get a great description of the street and its surroundings, okay? It really intensifies this atmosphere. It's almost the anti-Van Gogh, the way he's describing the street. You know, it's like Van Gogh painted pictures of Paris that were really beautiful.
Yeah.
At one point, the narrator says the street crossed the section of a dark river that was odorous with evil stenches. Okay. He says that smell is key because it may help him one day to locate the street because he never forgot that smell.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to break off for a second. When you talk about Lovecraft's eccentricities, more often than is comfortable for anyone, Lovecraft reveals his disgust at the smell of fish.
Okay.
Throughout his fiction, I can't tell you how many times he does it, where he just talks about some sort of malodorous, fishy smell coming from a river or a low tide. He just hates it.
It's weird. All right.
The smell really disgusted him.
Okay.
So the description of this Rue d'Orsay goes on to describe it as narrow and steep, and he says it rose almost like a cliff, and as he moved along it, the pavement became irregular, as did the vegetation, and perhaps most odd, the architecture was all off. Mm-hmm. You ever see the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari?
Yeah, long ago.
It's that German expressionist thing where you see, like, the geometry doesn't add up. The roads are, like, twisting into the distance, and the houses are all kooky looking.
Yeah.
It's like everything's off, and it's supposedly made to look like what you would see through the eyes of a madman.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a rumor once that Alfred Hitchcock was one of the guys doing the set design for that. I don't know if that's true or not. I'd have to look into it.
I like that. I hope that's true.
I do too. So the narrator goes on to say that the inhabitants of the street were mostly silent and kept to themselves, and they were all very old. He can't remember how he came to live in the house at the top of the street. He just says that it was the only place he could afford. Okay, he was a broke student, and he'd just come off a string of evictions. This is the only place he could get was this room in this weird house at the top of this weird street.
Yeah.
What's intriguing is that the house is bordered by a huge ivied wall that's shielding the house from the view of the countryside beyond. That wall is key. That wall is going to come into play a couple of times here.
Yeah.
And just when you thought that this place was creepy enough, we find out that his room is on the 5th floor and that he's the only inhabitant there. The place is nearly empty. On the night he arrived, he says he heard strange music coming from the peaked garret at the top of the house. He asked the old landlord about it. The landlord's name is Blandot. He calls him the paralytic Blandot. Okay.
Yeah.
The landlord tells him it's an old German viol player by the name of Erich Zann. A viol is... I had to look this up. A viol is very closely related to the cello.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has 4 strings.
Mm-hmm.
The landlord tells him that Erich Zann is actually a mute who plays in a cheap theater orchestra in the evening, and when he comes home, he goes straight to his room and plays all night there. Now, you and I both come from music. You probably have a little more experience in this realm than I do, but am I mistaken in saying that the last thing you want to do after a gig is play some more? You know?
Yeah, it depends. If you had a great gig,
yeah,
we can play more, but if you had a shitty one, you're like, fuck off, dude, I'm going home.
Right, yeah. If it's a little cheap theater orchestra gig, I don't know, maybe you might want to get home and just play your own stuff. I don't know. Yeah,
but as a rule, you're right. When you're done, you feel done. You're done.
Yeah. So we find out the gabled window of Zann's room is the only window in there, and it's the only window in the whole house that appears to look over the wall beyond the street. Okay, so our narrator moves in and hears Zann's music every night. It keeps him up nights. But that doesn't seem to bother him so much because he's fascinated by the weirdness of the music. Zann is using harmonies that are truly bizarre. And our narrator comes to the conclusion that Zann must be some kind of genius composer, and after a while, after about a week or so, he resolves to make his acquaintance.
Yeah.
That's where we begin here. We have this great setup of the mystery of the missing street. This is where I heard the music of Erich Zann. Now, it's a creepy old guy. That's what Zann is. Creepy old dude. He's a mute. He's playing weird music up in the attic of this house. So one day he intercepts Zann going downstairs or something. He meets him on the stairs and he tells him he'd like to know him and sit with him while he plays. Fucking groupies, We now get a great description of Zann. He was a small, lean, bent person with shabby clothes, blue eyes, grotesque, satyr-like face, and nearly bald head. He's a looker.
The satyr-like face is great.
Satyr-like face. Isn't that cool? Zann is at first frightened, but he finally melts and leads the narrator up to his room. Why would he be frightened? He's that much of a misanthrope. Strange. But, yeah, so, again, mystery upon mystery here. It's really cool. We enter Zann's room, and it is a sanctuary of indulgence and designer furnishings, a blend of modern sophistication and timeless charm. No, it's actually kind of a shithole. It's got bare wooden walls, a gross little bed and washstand, floors littered with sheet music. There's dust and cobwebs everywhere, which heightens the sense of desolation about the place. And, of course, it's lit with candles. Why wouldn't it be lit with candles?
Of course.
So he removes the viol from this moth-eaten sack that he keeps it in, and he begins to play. And the music is very unique, to say the least. And for the next hour, he's playing this music, and the narrator describes it as a kind of fugue. I'm going to mansplain this, because a fugue has more than one voice at a time, playing at a time. I don't know how you would play that on a cello. It's not entirely impossible, I don't think. I think there's some people can write very clever fugues that alternate between the voices so that you're playing one of the voice and then you switch really fast to the other one, and sometimes they overlap because you can bar the strings and play two strings at the same time. I don't think Lovecraft was very well versed in music. He just knew that the terms and stuff like that, but we'll forgive him for that.
Okay. What about the idea of this being the sort of story that it is, that it was a fugue because it's abnormal?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Without going too far ahead of myself here.
Sure.
Maybe it's something to do with the fact that a single viol can play a fugue.
Yeah.
Is part of the nature of the story.
Right. Okay. I see where you're going.
That's a stretch, but it's probably more likely that this racist dick
was also a musical moron.
Musical dick.
Hey, he's dead. Let him come at me.
Respect to him as much as he deserves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, no, but I like your theory. That's pretty good.
It's thin, but whatever.
Unlike this beer is actually nice and hearty.
Nice.
I have to mention the beer more often than these things. It is called the Beer Cast, right?
Well, I tell you, this one is like somebody melted a donut in the beer. I don't know how else to put it. It's like a blueberry punchki in a stout pint.
Love it.
It's good, but you could probably have one.
Yeah.
Not only at a sitting, but probably a week. It's rich.
Wow. So anyway, Zann is playing this stuff, and, well, it's kind of cool. The narrator's like, well, no, this isn't the music I've been hearing, though.
Right. Nice, but not what I came here for.
Right. That really bizarre shit that was keeping me up at night. So he asks him about it, and Zann is like, well, fuck you. I don't take requests.
What do you think this is? Right. That's great.
So when the narrator asks him about it, his face twists up, and he has that same look of fright on his face as he did when the narrator first accosted him in the hallway of the building. So the narrator says, all right, listen, play some of this, and he begins to whistle some of the music that he remembers hearing. And Zann's face becomes, quote, distorted with an expression wholly beyond analysis, end quote. And he reaches out his bony hand to stop the narrator's mouth. A little creepy moment there. Yeah. And then he glances toward the window, almost as if he's like, stop whistling, somebody might hear you out there. This ignites the narrator's curiosity about that window. He really wants to see what the view is like from all the way up here, and maybe he can peek over that wall. So he goes over to the window, and just as he's about to open the curtains, Zann grabs him and pulls him away.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of an awkward struggle here, and then Zann's panic and anger seem to subside a bit, and he beckons the narrator to sit down in his filthy chair at his filthy table while he scrawls a filthy note on a filthy piece of paper. And we feel bad for Zann, though. He's just not the best housekeeper, that's all. Now Zann is about to explain this behavior. He writes his note, and in it, he confesses that he is, quote, old, lonely, and afflicted with strange fears and nervous disorders connected with his music and with other things. Okay, what are those other things? Yeah. And he says while he really enjoys their company and having someone listen to him play, he had no idea until they met in the hallway that the narrator could hear him play that other music. Okay, and he says he hates that other people can hear it, and what's more, he can't stand hearing it from someone else. So he's like, I don't even want you whistling that crap now.
Yeah.
So he doesn't like people touching any of this stuff in his room.
Right.
Okay, that's why he's, like that damn curtain that's covering the window. I don't want you touching that stuff. Right. He says he's going to talk to Blandot, the paralytic landlord, to see if he can arrange to move the narrator to a lower floor where you can't hear him play any of that dreadful crap that he's been playing. He'll even cover the difference in rent, He's really that adamant about it. And the narrator's feeling pretty bad for Zann now. He's thinking, I got mental problems too, but, this guy is really far gone. Just as he's thinking this, a slight sound comes from the window. It's a small sound, but it makes both him and Zann kind of shit their pants.
Yeah.
So he's just relying on your imagination. What is this slight sound? He finishes reading the note that Zann wrote for him, and the two part on good terms. And the next day, Blandot moves him to a more expensive room between an upholsterer and an aged moneylender.
Jesus.
You know what moneylender is, all right? Now, Lovecraft, yes, he was anti-Semitic as well. Why wouldn't he be?
Add to the pot, buddy.
Right, exactly.
Dick.
He wound up marrying a Jewish woman, though.
Oh, really?
Later on, yeah.
All right. Maybe she snapped him out of it.
She did, I guess, for a time, because they divorced, and he may have gone right back to feeling the way he felt. Who knows? Calling this guy an aged moneylender is pretty restrained for Lovecraft.
It's rough, but yeah, you're right. It's restrained for him, especially after what he named his damn cat.
Right, exactly. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
So, anyway, back to the Erich Zann All-Star Celebrity Hootenanny. After the narrator moves to his new room, excuse me, I'm going to flick on a light here. Hold on. Okay.
You getting scared?
Yeah, exactly. So after the narrator moves to his new room, he doesn't see much of Zann, and kind of seems like Zann is purposely giving him the cold shoulder. Whenever the narrator calls on him, Zann seems uneasy, and it even shows in his playing. He describes his playing as listless. He makes a point of telling us, my liking for him did not grow.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. But the weird music and the room in the attic continues to fascinate him. By saying my liking for him did not grow, I think he's trying to say that, listen, there was nothing really that I had about this guy. I just wanted to see what was going on in that room with all this weird music and this window and everything. I don't know why. But, so he really wants to gaze out that window, and so much so that he even tries sneaking up there one night when Zann is out on his orchestra gig, but the door's locked, he can't get in. So the narrator takes to sneaking up there while Zann is playing and listening in at the door like some sort of creep. Whenever he does, he finds that the music fills him with dread. He says it's not that the music is entirely unpleasant, it's just that it sounds like nothing of this earth. Furthermore, it almost sounds as if there's more than one player playing the instrument. So that speaks to your thing about the fugue. So maybe this is right. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
It might be. It's hard to know at this stage.
Exactly, yeah. So as the weeks go on, the playing gets wilder and wilder, while Zann himself seems to be getting more and more haggard looking. And now he's really giving our narrator the cold shoulder. Okay, he refuses to admit him into his room and basically shuns him when they pass on the stairs. And then we get this nice little quote here. I'm going to read it. Then one night, as I listened at the door, I heard the shrieking viols swell into a chaotic babble of sound, a pandemonium which would have led me to doubt my own shaking sanity had there not come from behind that barred portal a piteous proof that the horror was real, the awful, inarticulate cry which only a mute can utter, and which rises only in moments of the most terrible fear or anguish. The beautiful sentence there. And there's a hint of the Gothic about it, with the very long sentence, but it's very Lovecraft, too.
Yeah.
Lovecraft is all about going crazy. The themes that occur in Lovecraft's fiction over and over again is this idea that there are things out there. What's the quote? The Shakespeare quote?
I don't know it exact, but
There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy.
oh yeah.
So that's the thing, that these things out there that you're only scratching the surface of, and even the scratching the surface is enough to drive you crazy. That appears over and over. So just imagine what the rest is like. If only this little tip of it can drive you insane. It's really cool. So yeah, that appears over and over again in his fiction. That's what makes him so cool. So after the narrator hears this cry from inside, he starts pounding on the door and calling Zann's name. And then he hears these sounds from within that sound like someone getting up off the floor by the aid of a chair. God knows what that might sound like, but scuffling and stuff like that. He thinks maybe Zann had some kind of fainting fit. And then he hears the window and the shutters being closed. He's like, damn it, that's the window. I gotta get in there. Finally, when he gets to the door, when Zann gets to the door, the look on his face is one of relief. And he clutches at the narrator's coat, quote, as a child clutches at its mother's skirt, end quote.
Man.
Yeah, so he's something really serious is going on with Zann.
So something just fucked off out the window.
Yes.
And he's glad it's fucking gone.
Yes, indeed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So Zann invites him in and bids him to sit down. The vial is lying carelessly on the floor. Then he notices that Zann appears to be listening for something. He just kind of freezes. And he's like, okay. Then finally he's like snaps to it. He's like, okay, yeah, I didn't hear anything good. And he's like, finally he scrawls a note and he hands it over to him. And the note tells the narrator that he's not going to tell him the full story about what's going on. And he just be patient. I'm going to scroll out this story and it's going to take a while. So just chill.
Right.
He sits down and he starts scribbling away for the next hour at his filthy, dirty table. Right in the middle of this, he stops and looks toward the window, and he's staring with fear, as if he can hear something. It reminds me, we talk about cats and dogs. I don't know, do dogs do this too? I think they do. A cat will be so placid, you'll be petting them, they're purring, and all of a sudden, the head darts up, the ears point, and it's like some paranormal activity is occurring somewhere in the vicinity that only they can see.
Well, we had this conversation before about cats, that there's
Yes.
otherworldly shit happening.
Yes. Right.
That they're connected on a weird plane that we're just not part of.
I remember reading once that when they're in that state, if you look between their ears, you can actually see what they're seeing. You can see the paranormal stuff, whatever it is. Like that's the little scope between those two ears. It sounds like their little antennae or something, and you can look through them in the direction that they're looking, and you'll see the thing, whatever it is that they're reacting to.
That makes me think of when you're a kid and you're using a Ouija board, and they say, if
Yeah.
you look over your left shoulder right now, you'll see a face, and if you do, you're fucking gonna die. It's like, you're a kid, you can't handle that. You're like, I'm not gonna look.
No.
But anyway, to answer your question, yes, dogs
Yes.
do the same thing.
Yeah.
Ruby will be laying there and all of a sudden be like, what the fuck was that? And we're like, what?
Yeah, right, exactly.
She'll get up and her hair will be up on her back, and she'll
That's
be like,
crazy.
her tail sticking straight out, and she's locked on some sound outside, and we'll go to the window and stare into the dark.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because she can either smell something, because, their noses are psychotic,
Yeah, right, sure.
and their hearing is great. So it's like,
Yeah.
there's something there. We have no idea what it is. But cats make it a little more paranormal than dogs.
Yeah, it's true.
Pretty weird.
Yeah, and it's like when you're alone with a cat and they do that, you're like, oh, stop. Not now. Come on.
Quit it.
Yeah, right. So Zann kind of does that thing. Right in the middle of writing, he looks up and stares at the window.
Right.
And he's staring with fear as if he can hear something. And the narrator thinks that maybe he can hear it too. He says it's nothing horrible. It's just a very low note coming from somewhere infinitely far away. Maybe from somewhere beyond that wall out there. So then Zann shoots up, he grabs the viol and begins sawing away at it like a madman. And the narrator says this is pretty much the wildest playing he's ever heard out of Zann to date, pretty much. In response to this low note that's coming outside, Zann springs up, grabs the viol, starts sawing like a madman.
So it's like a talisman.
Yeah, so it's like he's warding something off, or to drown something out, whatever it is. What's adding to the horror is the look on Zann's face. The man looks like absolutely terrified while he's playing.
Yeah.
So he describes the playing as, quote, fantastic, delirious, and hysterical, end quote.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a Prague joke in here somewhere. I don't know where it is. We'll get to it. That reminds me of one of my favorite reviews of Emerson, Lake and Palmer was Keith Emerson's music ranges from brilliant to pointless, often within a single song.
That's pretty good.
This may have been the article that ended with, what a tragic waste of electricity and talent.
Just off topic.
Yeah.
His Moog, is it Moog or Moog?
Moog.
Moog. Man, I was wrong twice. His Patchwork Nightmare is pretty Lovecraftian on its own.
It is.
It looks like a bunch of tentacles and shit and lights and stuff blinking on and off in the dark. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And that thing, I've heard that thing, and it fills a galaxy with sound. It is unreal how fat those sounds are that come out of that thing. So, fantastic, delirious, and hysterical. And then our narrator recognizes the piece. It's just a standard Hungarian dance popular in the theaters. He's like, notices that this is the first time he's ever heard Zann play something that's not his own creation. I was thinking, what could be the motive for playing this little Hungarian dance? I was thinking that maybe it's comforting to him. It's like whistle a happy tune when you're scared.
Yeah.
I'm going to play something that I know that's really comforting, and I'm going to play it just to ward off the evil here. Mm-hmm. Does that sound plausible at all?
Even if it doesn't, it's going to calm me down.
Right, exactly.
Right.
It's when you're a kid, it's like the monsters can't get me if I'm calm and whistling, Yeah. So,
or as Jen says, if my toes are under the covers.
Yeah, right. When I was a kid, my sister told me a story. My older sister, Mary, used to scare the shit out of me. She would do it on purpose. I mean, this is what older sisters do. So she would say that a friend of hers woke up in the middle of the night because her grandmother, who was dead and was insane, came back as a ghost and pulled her granddaughter awake in bed by pulling her hair.
What?
And shaking it and screaming at her.
Jesus. Fuck that.
Thanks. And I was a kid, and I slept with the covers over my head until I was about 30 after that, because it was so hardcore for a kid to hear something like that. And listen, I start writing horror stories shortly after that. Who knew?
All right, we have to go off topic. Just for
Sure.
Do you have a lot of friends who, one time when I was sleeping, this thing happened, and I had
Yeah.
They'll tell you some bizarre fucking ghost got in their face, started screaming at him or something. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I have heard that story from people that I know, friends of mine.
Okay.
And I'm like, I've never experienced fucking anything like that.
No, I haven't either.
And why? I'm not discounting what they said, like it's not true.
No, right.
And I'm not dying for it to happen to me either. I'm just wondering, like, where's the disconnect? How come you?
Yeah. The skeptical thing is to say they're under some sort of misapprehension about what's actually going on.
Right.
Whereas you may not be. In that same scenario, you would probably be like, oh, no, that was a lucid dream I had. I had just opened my eyes during a lucid dream, and that's what happened,
Mm-hmm.
Or they're fucking with you. I know people who would do that. My sister did it.
I don't know how many of my siblings want to be involved in this podcast as far as stories go.
Yeah.
But my sister's got a few stories.
Oh, cool.
She's pretty, I don't know, attuned or... she's some sort of magnet for that kind of thing, I think.
My sister Mary is into that stuff. She really does. Mm-hmm. She is a believer in that stuff. She has a little bit of a skeptical bent toward it, but she does believe in the possibility of it, and that's the difference between us, because I don't at all. I'm always like, there are so many steps you have to get to before you say ghost. There's so many explanations to say it could be this, could be this, could be this, and anytime it's even remotely plausible, it's more plausible than ghost, because then we have to presuppose that there's an afterlife, that we have a soul to begin with that will live on, and there's a lot of things you have to take into consideration. Why are they wearing the clothes? that they wear when they appear to you. You know, all these things.
Yeah. I believe these people 100%. Especially my sister. I mean, she's my sister.
Oh, sure.
She's seen some pretty interesting stuff. Nothing too like, oh my God, horrifying, but unnerving for sure.
And it's okay to say you don't know what it is. You can just say, I don't know. I don't think it's a ghost, but I don't know.
Right.
You know, it's perfectly fine to say you don't know and leave it at that.
You and I don't believe in that sort of thing, but we're also not know-all, tell-all either.
Right. True.
You know, so
True.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, I know I'm right, but that's just me.
Right. You weigh the odds. What's the most plausible thing at the moment? The most plausible thing right now is that it's something that I just can't figure out, and it doesn't have to be a ghost.
Yeah.
Zann is sawing away, and he's sweating. Okay? The narrator says he's twisted like a monkey, and he's looking frantically toward that window. Quote, in his frenzied strains, I could almost see shadowy satyrs and bacchanals dancing and whirling insanely through seething abysses of clouds and smoke and lightning.
Okay, that's a lot.
Yeah.
First of all, I didn't realize that bacchanal, I thought that was a God damn it, a fucking punskis. A bacchanal was like a ritual, like a thing. Like you're having a bacchanal.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And he says bacchanal's dancing.
Yeah, so I didn't really know what that was. Or he can see like a bacchanal happening.
It's possible, sure.
From a distance, swirling around. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I can guess with everyone else.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's the music itself is invoking these images.
Yes.
So we could leave it at that. So seething abysses of clouds and smoke and lightning. I love that.
That is great.
What does that remind you of? The stuff that, what's his name, John Doe was talking about in Thomas Ligotti's story, the Christmas episode that we did.
Oh, where his little deer was?
Yeah. He's talking about his special place that he takes these kids to.
That fucking ending where he's like, here's where she is now. See you around.
Right. That's what this reminds me of. Seething abysses of clouds and smoke and lightning. All this weird shit. A great phrase.
It is. It's great.
To invoke just pandemonium.
Yeah, know? Pandemonium. There's the word.
And then once again, he can hear something from outside. It's a single note. A calm, deliberate, purposeful, mocking note from far away in the west.
Ugh.
And this is when Zann really starts hitting the effects pedals. He's like, okay, his playing just starts getting crazier than ever. And now a wind is whipping up outside as if to match it. The shutter comes loose, it's slapping against the window and finally shatters it. All of a sudden, the story just ramps up the action like that.
Yeah, but to get back to that part, a calm, deliberate, purposeful, mocking.
No.
Throwing that word in, it's not good.
I'm going to also go on a limb and say Lovecraft talks about his elder gods, if you will, all these beings out there that just like to fuck with humanity. And that's all they're doing.
That's their game.
Yep, and they just want to drive you crazy. They just want to mess around with you. That's all they want.
It's humorous to them.
They think of you as little ants that you can hold a magnifying glass over and burn and stuff like that.
Calm.
Yeah.
Deliberate. Purposeful mocking note.
Yep. So
from far away in the west.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah.
We can't get past that line. I remember reading it a few times.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, and I glossed over it, but yeah, no, you're right. It's a great line because then it really triggers Zann. He's like, oh, and he starts going crazy with his playing. So, and now it's like the wind is matching his playing outside.
Yeah, it's great.
And I love like just all these visuals and the sound. The shutter slapping against the window finally shatters it. And now the wind is rushing in. We get this great image of the papers blowing around, everything he was writing, the supposed explanation of all this stuff. All those papers are blowing around and candles are sputtering. We get a glimpse of Zann, and he's not looking good. His blue eyes were bulging, glassy, and sightless, and the frantic playing had become a blind, mechanical, unrecognizable orgy that no pen could even suggest.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so he is...
God, that's good.
He's blowing, as the bebop musicians would say. He's blowing.
That's why you're willing to tolerate this author's, we'll say, eccentricities.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that is a hell of a paragraph there.
Yeah. He piles on those adjectives, and they're so good. The wind whips up the papers from the table, and they're all about to blow out the window. And the narrator tries to rescue them. He rushes toward the window, and while he's there, he's like, hey, you know what? I always did want to have a look out this window. And so he does. Does he see the city with its gleaming lights? No. Does he see a beautiful country farmland landscape? No. This is Lovecraft country. He sees an eternal abyss yawning before him, and he describes it as, quote, an unimagined space, alive with motion and music, and having no semblance to anything on Earth. So there's just crazy thing going on outside, this swirling weirdness out there. And now, of course, the wind blows out all the candles. And he's left staring into that chaos and pandemonium ahead of him and hearing that crazy music behind him, and he starts groping his way back towards Zann. He's tripping over shit in the dark, and he can swear at one point that something cold brushes up against him, and he shrieks, but the shriek is basically swallowed up by the music. Then he's hit by something very real, and it's Zann's bow. He just sort of jabs him with his bow as he's playing, and there's a great description of the music being almost tangible because it's swirling with the wind in the room. You get this idea of this synesthesia. You ever hear that?
I have heard of that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You can see the sound swirling around.
Yeah, there's almost a bit of that going on here. And so he gropes, he finds Zann's shoulders, and he tries to shake him, but Zann won't stop playing. So he grabs his head, which is nodding mechanically to the music, and he stills it, and he screams into his ear that they have to get the hell out of there. But that ear is ice cold, and he feels Zann's face, and it's unmistakably stiff.
Ice cold, and the eyes are bulging uselessly into the void.
Oh, God. That's so good.
So let's recap here. Erich Zann is dead.
Yeah.
And his body is just still sawing away at the viol, playing that crazy-ass music.
He is like a marionette at this point.
Yeah, and so our narrator is like, yep, I'm out of here. That's it. This is the worst thing in my life at the moment, so I'm leaving. And so he says he's fleeing. The music is increasing in intensity. You can hear it behind him. And when he finally gets outside, he realizes there's no wind. The moon is out. The city lights are twinkling. It's actually a gorgeous night outside. And we close with this. Despite my most careful searches and investigations, I have never since been able to find the Rue d'Orsay, but I am not wholly sorry, either for this or for the loss in undreamable abysses of the closely written sheets which alone could have explained the music of Erich Zann.
Oh, my God. Yup.
So there we have it.
Oh, my God. Okay, so here's the news on my end. I've never read Lovecraft before this.
Okay.
Nothing. You know, I see Cthulhu everywhere. It's pop culture now. You know?
Sure. Especially gaming culture. He's all over gaming culture.
You can find a bunch of Cthulhu beers and stuff.
Yeah.
You'll see a kid walking around with a Cthulhu shirt on. You're like,
right, yeah.
Like a little kid.
Yeah.
Because their parents are into it. And you're like, whoa, this is weird now.
Yeah, sure.
But anyway, I've never read it before this, but this whole premise of summoning this fucked up thing through music in this weird room, in this weird place that only exists in some parts of your life was brilliant to me.
Yeah.
I've been looking for something like that that's a little like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Because once he walks out, slam the door and you hear crickets and it's moonlight and it's peaceful.
Right, yeah. Right.
It's like, what? That's fantastic. Oh, God.
Yeah.
And that he was still playing when he was dead is fucking fabulous.
That's great.
Jesus Christ.
Absolutely. That's like the money shot for me. It is.
The money shot.
And his head's bobbing. He's got to stop his head.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, wait, this fucker's dead. I'm out.
Yeah. It's like something is playing this music through this guy's body.
Yeah, exactly.
It hints at something that Thomas Ligotti, actually, more than hinted at, in his book of nonfiction, Conspiracy Against the Human Race, that people are just puppets. He talks about that a lot. And it's just like that reality is pure horror to realize that you're just
You're a
puppet
shell.
being
That's
controlled.
it.
Yeah, being controlled by something. So it's really cool. It's cool stuff. That's what horror is all about. And especially this cosmic horror where it's like you don't even know what the thing is that's controlling you. And if you try to find out, it's just going to drive you batshit.
Yeah. The closely written sheets, which alone could have explained.
Yeah.
That's really good.
They're lost in undreamable abysses.
To actually see them would make your eyes boil in your head.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
Wow. So good, man. This was great.
Yeah, so good stuff. And your beer held up, I guess.
I have a slug left.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That's it, but it's a hell of a pint.
Yeah. So this was called
Sin, Repent, Repeat.
Right.
The Punchki Stout. by Griffin Claw Brewing Company.
Griffin Claw. Love it. I was enjoying a Twin Fork Brewery Crescendo, an East Coast style IPA, and it was at 7.3.
Oh, it's good.
It's good stuff. Great stuff. You had mentioned, there's Lovecraft beers. There was, you had mentioned this to me that Narragansett actually put out a line.
That's the one I was going to bring up.
Oh, okay. They're not available anymore.
Really? Because maybe the article I read was old, but it said
could have been.
The Lovecraft honey beer was back.
Oh, okay.
But that could be old. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, the problem was because I said I might have it clinched.
Okay.
Because I called the guy and I said, hey, what's this Lovecraft beer? He goes, oh, yeah, that Narragansett? Yeah, I can get you that.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah, do it. Get it. It'll take a week. And I'm like, perfect. Do it.
Okay.
And I go there and he goes, yeah, they didn't have it, but they have regular Narragansett. You want it? It's a 30-pack. I'm like,
right.
Dude, that's not what I was asking for, but thanks anyway.
Good old Narragansett. That was what, if you recall, season 1, episode 1. I was looking for Narragansett and couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
So
that would have been good with making it akin to the Hero Supreme.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. You explained it as a lawnmower beer, you called it, and it's true. It's exactly what it is.
Usually that is, and so is like all the lagers around here, like Bud and
sure,
Miller Lite, and people around here aren't asking for a lot. Not really.
Right. No notes, as you say.
Yeah. I don't really have a problem with that. I just don't use that kind of terminology. If I did, people would look at me really sideways like, what did you just say? I'd be like, well, the notes in this Bud Light are really pushing the boundaries of shut up.
Speaking of the eastern end of Long Island, that's all wine country.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll make our way out there every so often, and we sit at a winery. Neither one of us knows what the hell we're talking about, but we know how to fake it. So we'll sit there, we'll smell it, we'll swirl it in the glass, smell it again, take a sip, and discuss the notes. And we'll say, I'm getting a little bit of pear or whatever, To
me, that's legitimate. When I'm talking about a beer,
yeah,
I'm not going to talk about the notes. It's not why I showed up today. It's, if you're having a nice wine and there's real notes in there, there's a real structure to it.
I guess there is, but there's also an ulterior motive that we have because a lot of times we look like we know what we're talking about and people give us free stuff.
That's a good move.
So they're like, oh, if you like this, maybe you'll like this one. This is our estate blend. Here, try that.
Yeah.
It's all performative.
Yeah. But as far as notes go, that's like a real thing with wine. I believe that.
Yeah.
If you're really attuned to it, I am not.
Right.
I'll be like, this is good.
Yeah.
That's all I do. I go, it's good.
Right. It's good. Got a good taste.
It tastes good.
I'm not that good with the metaphors. Like when you taste something, you be like, I'm getting asparagus and pear, and I can't do that. I'm just like, it tastes like, it makes me go like that. It's like I just know I can't identify the what I'm tasting. It's just I'm really bad with that stuff.
I've never been no account of that either. So
yeah,
but I appreciate the folks who do, and I know closely people that do that. So
yeah, sure,
they're they're into it.
Do they swish it? Do they do that?
Oh, I know people that grow the grapes and stuff. So
oh, cool. Oh, that's nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So they kind of know left from right on that topic.
They know their shite.
Yeah,
nice. Well, I think we're going to close it here.
Yep.
My beer's done. Yours is almost done or done.
I got a slag left, yeah.
Okay. You enjoy that slag. And or slug. Is it a slag or a slug?
I think it's a slug, actually.
Okay. A slag is a British groupie.
Yeah, slag is like not a good name.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Not a good word.
Slag off, yeah. Anyway, so we're going to slag off right here.
Nice one, dude. I loved it.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
And we are out.